just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, all the way from Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how are you tonight?
Absolutely fabulous. It looks like we're going to have another rainstorm coming through, which is always nice.
Yeah. I wish that was us. We were supposed to get a big rainstorm today. It rained for about 2 seconds and stopped. So disappointing.
See, with ours, we see it coming over. It could be one side of town or another side of the town or pass right over us. So it's going to be interesting.
Gee, well, lucky you. But anyway, so I ran into some technical difficulties that delayed our show tonight. As I mentioned to you, 2 days ago, I went to boot up my trusty computer, and guess what?
It booted back.
It booted back is right. It was
retrograde, honey.
It was retrograde. It hit me. Right. It hit me hard. So my computer was down, and I had to rush it over to the Mac store, and they gave me the bad news. It needed a new screen and probably a new fan. And I'm thinking, why am I throwing money at this thing? It's 5 years old. Time to get a new replacement. So after the sticker shock wore off, I said, okay, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's time to buy a new one. I'll suck it up and get it. They were supposed to have it all ready for me before the show, but they failed.
Don't take a bite out of that apple anymore.
Yeah, really. So if I sound a little different tonight, it's because I am not on my computer and I don't have my microphone, but thank God you do. So anyways.
Sounds really good.
Well, that's good.
I didn't know the difference. I would not know that you're not on your mic.
Well, I'm happy to hear it because I want all of our listeners to have easy listening, have all the sound quality be perfect for everybody. So we got a lot to talk about tonight, though, don't we? We have
certainly
so much going on here on the show. You know, first of all, our guest that we'll introduce in a little while is Leo Sprinkle. He is amazing, and you guys are going to love him. He is one of the very best and premier investigators in the UFO phenomenon, and he has his own views on what this is, his own experience of what this is, and it's fascinating. So I can't wait to get him on the air. So all of you can meet him and talk to him through the chat room or even call in at our call-in number 888-919-2355. Again, that is 888-919-2355. So, my goodness, let's start with the numbers. What's happening in this crazy, bizarro world? Much happening.
That's for sure. We have to remember, regardless of anything else, this is a 9 universal month. Regardless of what else is going on, we get a doubleheader here.
Wow, so, we sure have already. Look at this week. Goodness.
Yeah. So, but today it's all about personal contacts with good friends in a positive way, kind of setting things in motion so that we look at maybe some type of entertainment or special ideas that make us feel good. But doing something different certainly makes you feel special. But you have to remember it's a 5-day. 5 deals with too many things happening too quickly, accident proneness, and this is a universal 9-month and day. 9-month and year, excuse me. The day is
that's
5.
A double whammy.
Oh, it's a double whammy for me because I'm in a 9-year, 9-month, and I tripped over the step coming down and ended up on both knees on the tile. And I'm
going, man,
this is not fun. Oh, no. It certainly did. And I'm afraid to move. I'm thinking, did I break something?
Oh, gosh,
but I
hope
didn't.
Not. Okay, good.
Just the phone. That was okay. It was an old one.
No.
But that's the retrograde going into work, anything that deals with electronics.
Yep, it certainly hit mine. Yeah.
But tomorrow, that's going to be a different story. Tomorrow we're going to
Thank
deal
God.
with, oh God, yes. Some personal responsibilities and obligations are going to be important to everybody. But the nice part is perfection comes from paying attention to what you want to do, what you need to do, and making commitments in a personal way. Make that your list topper for the day. But
All
be
right.
willing to be of service to others.
Again?
Yes, be willing to serve without being asked. That's, see, when they have to ask us, it's not the same thing.
Okay.
But
So
it
now it's
is.
without being asked.
That's right. But you have to remember, too, it has something to do with pets and neighbors. And so kind of keep your pet in your yard, or if your neighbor has one, make sure it stays in theirs.
Okay. All right.
Just
So
a thought.
boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. All right. We're going to work on that.
We'll all
So
get
that's, yeah, that's good. Boundaries are good. We like boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Now, you and we've been talking about the candidates a little bit,
Yes.
but from a supernatural point of view, from the number point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been great at coming across with insightful information just from the numerology. And you've been right on, as we've been talking about with our audience. Now, this past week, there's been more health issues that have come up with Miss Hillary,
Mm-hmm.
as well as talk of a body double that walked out of that New York City apartment that belonged to her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been burning up the internet, has it not?
Oh, every place you look, there's something about it.
It's crazy stuff, bizarro stuff.
I bet Bill's wringing his hands, hoping to God it is a body double.
Maybe so.
He didn't like the one he had.
Oh my gosh. But yes, people have been comparing on the internet her hairstyle, the shape of her ears, her weight. They say the body double looked about 20 to 30 pounds lighter, thinner than the real Hillary. And so there's all kinds of questions that this has raised. So have you looked at those photographs? What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. They're very close. When you look at them separately, you think that's who it is. You put them next to one another, there's just enough of a difference. One seems to look lighter, as you say, but also a little bit younger, softer. That's the word, it's softer.
Yes, I agree.
Uh-huh.
There's something a little bit off there that has raised everybody's eyebrows, at least a lot of people's eyebrows,
Mm-hmm.
and they're questioning the whole experience of that event, how they kept the press from following her to her van and the Secret Service. And of course, what happened was a bystander filmed it anyways, which was really good, really terrific.
That is good. Thank God for cameras these days that we get the real story.
It's how else can you? They hide so much from us. The mainstream media has been trying to shove things down our throat and make us believe a certain way. But thank goodness this man, he videotaped it, put it right on the internet so everybody could see. This was a serious medical event.
Oh, yes. And just like I spoke about myself, I'm in a 9-year. Hillary's in a 9-year. This is a 9-month for her. And if you take a look at what's taking place, it is not an easy month for anybody. And then we've got the retrograde on top of it, which is getting a hold of everybody by the seat of the pants, whether they like it or not. So this is, there's a lot more going to come out of this if they allow us to know it.
Well, here's what I heard from an astrologer friend of mine. She's a super astrologer. And she called me the other day and said, there is going to be a lunar eclipse on the 16th.
That's right.
Just a couple days from now, right? And this type of eclipse, she said, is the type that brings secrets out everywhere. There is no holding them back.
Well, that makes good sense because that's a 7 universal day in the 9-month and in the 9-year. So yes, its secrets are going to be made known, and some of them aren't going to like what they're going to hear.
Wowee, I can't wait because it feels like we have been so lied to on so many different levels. And, you know, they're kind of silly to try to put stuff over on us because of the internet now, and people like you mentioned, with cameras being everywhere, it is a tough thing to try to put something over on us now. So one of the things that we did, you and I, is we contacted Ellen Goldberg. Remember our palmistry friend?
Right.
She was on the air with us not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and she read hands on the air where people had sent their handprint in from our audience. We had a blast with her. She's so good at what she does. And I sent these off to her today.
Good.
So I'm going to post her response on our Facebook page. So if you guys aren't following us on Facebook, make sure you are, so you can take a look at what Ellen Goldberg has to say about comparing the two hands. So we'll see. I mean, she may say it's the same person. She may say it isn't. We won't know till she gets back to us, and then I'll post it. So a lot of intrigue here, a lot going on, and we're going to get to the bottom of it right here on Supernatural Girlz Radio. Nothing is going to escape us.
It's been like a bad marriage. There's a mistress out there somewhere. We just don't know what it all is.
Well, we do know. It's like there's a lot of people that have posted things about medical conditions and possible Parkinson's, and then what we're seeing is a result of Parkinson's and side effects of levodopa medication. Actually, there was one doctor who I think you saw too. He made a great case for Parkinson's and side effects of meds. So, he said, I'm going to act like any CIA agent, and I'm going to diagnose this leader from afar. And this is what I see happening. And he did a very good presentation on it. Now, who knows? I mean, again, she's not forthcoming with information. She does not. Now, what is up with that? Well, you did tell us.
Well, she doesn't tell the truth to begin with. So, but the thing I'm concerned about, even if she is, quote, hiding all this other stuff, if she has pneumonia and she's out and about, how dare she put everybody else in jeopardy? We don't know what type she has. And here she is out and about everybody else. That's not fair.
Well, a lot of people have brought that question up and said, why doesn't she care enough about other people to wear a mask or something? And of course, they have their shill doctors they send out there that say, oh, well, if she was already on antibiotics, she's not contagious. Well, how do we know? Like you mentioned, if it's viral pneumonia, they don't put you on antibiotics.
Well, she belongs home in bed, period.
That's right, with a mask.
A very big mask.
So it's really interesting. It's caught a lot of people's attention, and it's just one of many, many crazy things going on. But we deserve the truth. And you know what? If we're not going to get it from the media, and we're not going to get it from the campaign people, and we're not going to get it from the candidate, then we going to get it supernaturally. So that's what we're going to do.
That idea. After all, we could guarantee where we're going to get that way is correct.
That's right. You got it. You got it. So a quick paranormal news segment. I sent this over to you. And when I get my computer back tomorrow, I'm going to post a video on this. It's quite interesting. That rocket that was sent up into the air and blew up. Again, there's a lot of controversy about that because people captured on video some type of object behind the rocket. And they are claiming to have proof that this was a UFO that blew that thing out of the sky. So I'm going to post that tomorrow for everybody, again on Facebook, for everyone to take a look at and make your own determination. But it was a strange thing that happened again. And I wonder why, if UFOs don't want that thing in the air, why they don't want it in the air. If it was one of our UFOs, because again, that if it was one of ours from our covert government programs, then that's a question. Or was it an ET UFO? That's another question. And as everybody knows in our audience, we're always asking these questions. We'd like to get down to the brass tacks here and get some real answers. So hopefully tonight we will.
Wouldn't that be nice for a change to get real answers?
I know it. I know it. We don't like walking around in circles. We deserve the truth. So tonight, our guest he has been involved in this phenomena since 1961, I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a long time that Dr. Sprinkle has been involved in this phenomenon, and he's a psychologist, and he has, again, a lot of experience and a lot of documentation, and he has a lot to say to us tonight. So welcome to the show, Leo. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Supernatural Girlz.
So tell us, what is it that caught your interest about UFOs and the paranormal? It's not just UFOs you've been involved with, it's also reincarnation and other things. But what is it that caught your interest about all this?
Many things along the way. As a child, I had nightmares, and I couldn't understand them. As I got a little older, I got interested in flying craft, so-called unidentified flying objects. A buddy and I saw a craft in 1947 when we were at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And then my wife and I had a sighting a few years later. And it all seemed to be in line with the path. So in some ways I feel directed and meeting so many interesting people who have given information not only through psychological tests but also through interviews, hypnosis. So it's been a marvelous journey.
Well, it sounds like an exciting one. So you've met a lot of abductees, a lot of people who've also seen the crafts. And tell me about, have you done hypnosis on these abductees?
Yeah, I started in '66 after I went to New York for a couple of TV programs, met Betty and Barney Hill, and they talked about their work with Dr. Simon, a psychiatrist, who had utilized hypnotic techniques to help them remember more about their experience. And I thought, I'm trained in hypnosis, so I can do that. So I started working with individuals who were willing to learn more about their encounters.
Now, you must have found a lot of similarities then when you started hypnotizing these people and they remembered their journey aboard these crafts. Were there a lot of similarities, a lot of genetic samplings and things like that?
It's interesting to see the reaction of so many people, different age groups, different educational levels, etc. And yet there seems to be a common theme that is typical of a person who, first of all, starts wondering, why am I having these recurring dreams, or why am I having more and more sightings? And then people go through the why me stage. Why am I being picked on? Is it the government? Is it the devil? All kinds of questions about self as well as about the experience. Then people often go through a stage where they start coming to terms with the experience. It's what some people call transformation, or some people call it initiation, just like a person who's initiated into a society, or in the Army we called it basic training, where people are being tested to see if they can handle the chores or the duties or the service or the task. And then many people get to the point where they feel that they are important, but not important as a person. They're important in terms of their service, just like a good servicewoman or a good teacher. Many people feel that they are in league with others around them who are helping bring positive effects to the planet and to humanity.
Well, now I've heard that part of it from a few abductees, but more often than not, we've heard from abductees who really feel they have been abused and violated by these types of genetic samplings that have happened.
Yes, and there are some people who, when they go through hypnosis, find out that not only were they taken aboard a craft without their permission, they felt, but also felt as if there were humans around. So there have been so-called military abductions. I stopped using the word abduction many years ago because so many people found out they were not abducted, taken away. They were adducted. They were taken toward. Just like a high school student might say, "Oh, I was taken away from the high school campus, and I was taken to a college campus, and there were a lot of students, and there were a lot of instructors, and a lot of professors, and a whole bunch of knowledge going on. Well, many people feel like their initiation into a college environment is rough, but later on, most people feel like it was a positive thing. So the majority of people I've worked with in the long run feel like their encounters have been positive. Although I remember one time we had a UFO conference at the University of Wyoming between 1980 and 2000. I remember one young man who walked up to me and he said, "Leo, I am definitely an abductee." He wanted me to know that he was suffering.
Yeah, because we've heard about that, and it does not sound pleasant. And a lot of the people that have talked about it, especially women, talk about having, that they take these eggs from them and then they create these children without their permission.
Children, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Yes, and then some of these women will also report that as they do hypnosis, they recall another lifetime in which they felt like they were providing service and there was a task. So it's like when I was a high school student, there was a draft. The U.S. Army could draft 18-year-olds. I was saved for a while when I went to college, but then after college I was inducted into the Army. And I can remember one young man, we were going through what's called the obstacle course, seeing how agile and strong you could exert yourself. And one guy looked at me as we were huffing and puffing, and he said, "Sprinkle." He says, "Do you like the Army?" And I said, "No, it's not enough food, not enough sleep." He said, "Well, you don't seem to be bothered by it." I said, "Well, this is the easiest day in my life, easiest time." He looked at me, "Easy? Easy?" He was pissed. He said, "What do you mean, easy?" I said, we get 5 minutes of rest every hour. I said, I never got 5 minutes of rest at home or on in the field. When I was 10 years old, I started working outside the house. When I was 14 years old, I was helping a couple of dozen other boys with a really old man who was the foreman. We were working 9 hours a day hoeing weeds out in the field. We'd go up a mile, come back a mile, go up in 9 hours a day. Well, that's hard work for
yes, that is.
A 14-year-old. And so I was used to hard work. But in the Army, the new Army, they said, this is the new Army. There were 2 rules they had in the new Army. That one is the sergeant couldn't swear at you. He could say, "You people," but he couldn't call you a son of a bitch. And then the other rule was you get 5 minutes of rest every hour.
Oh, gosh. See? Very cute.
So some people who see themselves as experiencing pain and examinations often will take photographs, which is good because they could show the evidence to other people. And then sometimes they have felt that they continue to be bothered or taken away. But other times people feel like at the higher level they had a contract. They're a starseed or whatever you want to call it.
Right. So there's kind of an honor that goes with that. And there are some abductees that certainly feel that way, or experiencers, whatever you want to call them. But certainly there's a lot of the other kind that we have spoken to. And we need to go to break right now, but I want everybody to stay tuned. We're just getting started in this great show with Dr. Leo Sprinkle. He is an expert in UFOs, and we have a lot of questions for Leo tonight. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from the highend.org. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at the highend.org, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighend.org. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighend.org, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighend.org. That's thehighend, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, Patricia Kirkman, PK, and our tremendous guest tonight, Dr. Leo Sprinkle. We are talking about UFOs and abductees and all the things we'd love to talk about. We're going to get to the bottom of a few things tonight, I think. And we have some questions for you, Leo, from the chat room. So I'm going to throw a few of these out at you, okay?
Okay.
So they want to know, this is from Sonic1812B. Do you only investigate documented cases?
Well, sometimes I investigate the case and then document it.
Okay, so it doesn't already have to have documentation for you
so it
to
depends,
work on it.
Depends on what a person means by documentation. Many people will take notes, write about their experience. So that's, to me, the most powerful documentation. I have more recently, because of notoriety, worked with people who've had experiences and then learned more about them. But I started off back in the 60s with people who were puzzled by their experiences and wanted to know if I would listen to them. And so listening is a big part of the whole process.
Oh, definitely. Well, here's another question. They would like to know, have you or anyone you know personally ever been abducted?
Well, it depends on what you mean by abduction. In my opinion, I was on board a craft when I was a child, 5 years old and 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
I didn't know that until I was in my 50s when I go through hypnosis with another psychologist and through a lot of self-hypnosis, learning more about the experience. Of course, at this stage now, my bias is that this is part of a whole soul's path, soul's journey, that this is part of my past life task as well as this life task. So I've worked with many, many people who have more or little or no recollection about why they have these strange dreams or why they have these strange messages. And so many times it's a process of helping the person discover what it is. It's like a teacher who is helping a preschooler works at different level than high school, and high school works at different level than college. And some people feel like they have kind of a crash course.
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
Just a few months to go from kindergarten to college.
Well, okay, so that's interesting. So you had an experience at 5. And now here's another question. We have a lot of questions coming out for you tonight. How many cases have you investigated that you found to be the same or similar?
Oh, hundreds. I stopped counting after a while. Some people, like Barbara, has kept track of the numbers, 1,000 or 1,500. There are some people who have spent their whole professional career working with individuals who describe their encounters. So I'm less concerned about the number. I'm more concerned about the individual.
Yes, exactly. And they also... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, how similar are the explanations that you get from everyone?
They're individual, so they're very different. Some people, will talk about the devil. Some people talk about angels. Some people talk about ET. Some people talk about military lab reports. So it's hard to know whether these people are having the same kind of experience. It's like if you ask a person who goes into a hospital, did you have a good experience? You have a bad experience? Oh, the nurses were great. Oh, the physician was awful. There'll be different reactions. And yet the important thing is not only the individual reaction to the staff, but also the health of the person afterwards. And so many people feel that they are given an opportunity not only to experience encounters, but also to participate. and many people don't want to do that. In medical circles, they talk about the placebo effect. Placebo meaning I please. And so people who go into the surgery or into the diet or exercise program with a positive attitude many times show better results than people who are negative. And that's my bias, that a person who says this was a hellish experience, whether they're talking about the Army or the hospital or the encounter, this was a hellish experience, but I'm going to make the most of it. In my opinion, those people do better.
Interesting.
Makes a big difference in attitude.
Yes.
Yeehaw.
That's right. Even in these strange types of experiences. Now, you talk about in the paper that you sent me, it was so well written, about not only are there extraterrestrials involved in this whole thing, but there's also interdimensionals involved.
Yeah, that's the thing that is intriguing to me. I don't really have a good handle on it, but some people talk about celestials as well as extraterrestrial. If I could make the difference clearer in my view, I talk about ETs and humans and also about angels. So the celestials would be entities who don't necessarily have a shape. We think of ourselves as humans as having our form in our body. And the ETs, they may be brighter, they may be more technically advanced, but they also have a body. But the celestials, they are entities who don't have a body, and they can be negative, what some people call devils, and they can be positive, what some people call angels. And so in my opinion, some people are being exploited by negative celestials, and people think that they are encountering extraterrestrials, ETs.
Oh.
How fascinating. Oh, my goodness.
Would never have thought of that.
And you know, I think it's a great explanation for what is happening to some people. And I like your term, Leo, calling them celestials, whether they're of the dark or of the light. I mean, that's a great term.
And one has to deal differently with celestials than with ETs. You know, many people talk in the past about spirit releasement, prayers to release oneself of the devil or the devil's followers. And there are many so-called experts who dismiss the idea of celestials or of evil spirits. But I've worked with people who were able to release themselves from, you know, it seems miraculous, just like somebody who's been experiencing anxiety attacks or repetition behavior of some kind, and it's considered to be psychological. And then when a person prays or goes to someone who can help them release from the negative energy, they just feel like they have blossomed. They come into a new life.
It's wonderful. Isn't that exciting? And, you know, one of our co-hosts, unfortunately passed away, was an expert in helping people release those types of entities and reclaiming their lives. Unfortunately, she passed away. But, yes, Helene Olson, who actually was one of the originators of the show. And she was excellent at that. That was her forte.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she was good at it.
At the medical level, I want to mention a book I'm reading now. I'm really finding it interesting. It's by a guy named Anthony William. Anthony William has written a book
Medical
called
Medium. Yeah.
Medical Medium, yeah. And he argues very convincingly to me that many illnesses are caused by the virus, the Epstein-Barr virus, that goes through several stages. And some people are diagnosed with this ailment or that ailment, and when they start eating fruit, especially wild blueberries or grapes or whatever, and help their immune system, then they feel much better.
Yes, it's a wonderful book, and I do feel that you're right. Diet has a lot to do with our energy systems
Yes.
and what we attract and how we bring our energy higher or lower. So there are ways that you can do that by eating a clean diet. And when you don't, then yes, I think that has to do with the possibility that you may be giving one more kind of nail in the coffin to attracting lower vibration and possibly lower vibration entities.
Yes,
So
indeedy.
there's a lot to be said for that. And I know we've talked about it, PK and I, in terms of diet on the show. And a lot of our guests have mentioned that as well. Clean up your diet. It's not enough to just meditate. You've got to really pay attention to what you're taking in. So I guess you are what you eat, huh?
I'm a junk food junkie, unfortunately.
Yeah, some years ago, I had a little more muscle on this old bag of bones when I was sitting in a physician's office, and he looked at his chart, and he looked at me, I had my shirt off, and he looked at his chart, and he looked at me, he said, "How old are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm eternal, the soul is eternal." But I said, my mind is about 19 or 20 years old, and my body is 78. He said, 78. And he looked at his chart, and he looked at me, and he said, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up." And I said, "Well, I take meds." He said, "Meds?" And I said, "Yes, meditation, exercise, diet, and smiles." And he said, "Oh." And he said, "Oh, those meds." And I said, "Yeah, those cheap meds."
I like those meds. That's
those are great.
Yeah, good for you. So here's another question, again, from our chat room. They have a lot to say tonight. How do you go about investigating an abductee? What type of questioning do you use?
Yeah. Well, I'm retired now at 86, so I'm no longer active investigation. But when I was active, if I got a telephone call or a letter, then early on, I asked people to take a survey, personality inventory, find out if they were psychologically open and blah, blah, blah. Later on, I didn't ask people to take the survey unless they wished to do so, because I knew what I would find over and over and over. Most people who were willing to investigate their experience, female, most of the people I worked with were well-educated, high school, college level. The first questions that I had usually were ones where I could listen. I said, "Tell me about your experience." If a person came to my office, we sat down, and he or she could talk about what had happened. I'd take notes, and then we would decide whether to investigate further through surveys or through hypnosis, or if they wanted to talk with somebody. Sometimes people would bring in a family member, a spouse or a parent or whatever, to give more support. So then, as I said earlier, we started in 1980 with the Rocky Mountain UFO Conference, where people could come to the conference and listen to people talk about their experience. So we had what we called the closed session, or the open mic, some people call it, where people would listen, not say anything, allow the person 5 or 10 minutes to stand up and talk about her or his experience. And then if people had questions, and if the person's willing, well, then they could respond to questions. But the first step is to listen. Second step is to record. The third step is what you might call analysis. It might be talking back and forth. And then it might be further documentation. Some people would have videos. Some people would be wanting to talk to radio shows or TV programs. But that's up to them if they want to share their experience. I do encourage people, or I did then, to not only write down their experience, but if they're willing, to share it with organizations who collect the case studies.
Well, that's very thorough.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's the same thing as would happen if a person came in for a psychological problem, anxiety or insomnia or whatever, just like a physician would listen to a person talk about his or her medical concerns. And the other book I want to mention, if you haven't seen it, I think you'll enjoy it. Hannah Rosin, or Rosin, R-O-S-I-N, Hannah, H-A-N-N-A. And her book is called The End of Men and the Rise of Women. Yeehaw.
Wow, we like that.
The title is a little misleading. It's not the end of men, it's the end of the patriarchy. And in my opinion, this is the key topic for the planet and for humanity at this time. Some people will say that there have been many ET groups who have come to the planet, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians. Some say that the Martians settled in Atlantis and the Venusians settled in the Pacific. And Zachariah Sitchin, for example, argues that the ancient texts claim that the Egyptian priests worked with both the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, and then finally one Egyptian pharaoh decided that the one true God was the male dominant Martian Atlantean male. And the Jews later said that that was God. God is male. Whereas the Venusians said that the goddesses, Venusians, were peaceful and much more powerful. There's an interesting book called Power versus Force, in which a psychiatrist argues that force can be used to get some things done, but in the long run, power is more effective than force. So if you move from shame, hate, anger, fear on up into love and joy, psychologically, life is much more meaningful, much more interesting. And so I like to differentiate between abductions and adductions, and I like to differentiate between UFOs, unknown craft to known craft, and I like to differentiate between power and force. And I encourage people to use less force and more power.
Very enlightened. I like that. How about you, PK? What do you think?
I love it. And you think back to as of 2000s when they arrived, it has now become the time of the woman because we're becoming more sensitive or desensitized to it's a female versus it's a person being able to do the same work.
Yes.
Rosin, however she pronounced her name, has a good theory, in my opinion. She argues that at the lower levels, competition may be helpful for leaders, but at the higher levels, cooperation, compromise is much more important. And females, in general, are better than males in cooperation and compromise.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yes, that's such an interesting. Well, we got to get that book, don't we now?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to mention to you my attitude about your work. In my opinion, you exemplify what she's claiming. You are part of this new age where the feminine power is much more meaningful than the masculine force.
Yay!
Yay!
How about that, PK? See,
I like
we're on
that.
the leading edge here.
Doing it right. Doing it right.
We are. Well, this is so exciting. Now, Leo, you've worked with so many people who've had these experiences of being taken up in crafts, and yet in this really wonderful paper you wrote, again, the name of this paper is called E.T. Experiencers from Planetary Persons to Cosmic Citizens, and this was a galactic gathering in Denver, Colorado in 2009. And one of the things that you mention is about the possibility of military abductions by human operators that are trying to reverse engineer things to learn more about extraterrestrial activities. Were you able to meet any people who had experiences with military abductions?
I have, not very many. I'm having trouble remembering her name. There's a researcher who has worked with these people. If you have the paper there.
I have it. Melinda Leslie, is that it?
Oh, yeah, Melinda Leslie. She has done an excellent job of describing what many of these people experience. They think that they are on board a craft. They think that they're ETs. Come to find out that there are so-called ETs, but in back are humans who are trying to find out more about the person and his or her earlier ET encounter.
Wow, that is kind of complicated.
That's very sneaky.
That's
very sneaky. Yes.
Yes, indeedy. That is.
And I also want to mention that the revelation for me was some years ago. I went to a couple of TV programs in New York City, and at one of the shows, Dr. Hynek and Dr. Menzel, who was an astronomer at Harvard, they were arguing over what was going on, and the game that was being played then was believers and skeptics. And skeptics were highly educated, very intelligent, very rational entities, and those of us who were believers, we were weak-minded, fuzzy-minded, not very well educated. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
We were the deplorables, right?
Right. Well, then as time went by, we found that the game was changing. There were 4 different players. There was the believer, and then there was the knower, people who knew that they had been on board craft. They had talked with ETs. They had worked with them. And then the skeptics, we found out that some of them were paid to lie about their work and to disrupt people and to challenge people and to criticize people. So I can't remember what I called that group. Skeptics, believers, debunkers, yeah. People who would not only claim to know what was going on, but claim that somebody else was wrong. And I can remember Dr. Menzel. He was a bright guy, and he put me down, and, what does a psychologist know about astronomy? And, of course, I could raise the question, what does an astronomer know about psychology?
Right, turn that right around.
You can play that game, but after a while, it was not as much fun for me to go on a TV program and to quarrel with somebody. It was much more fun for me to talk with somebody who wanted to talk about their experience and to share their knowledge. And that's why I enjoyed the program with Betty and Barney Hill. They were willing to talk about their experience. Now, there was a skeptic on the show, Dr. Carl Sagan, but I thought Betty and Barney did a good job of letting him know that they still felt that the experience happened whether he believed or not.
Good for them. And their experience also included, for Betty, producing a planet or star or something that had not been identified yet. But then years later, an astronomer did discover exactly what she said and exactly where she said it would be, which really verified her experience.
That's the thing that's so exciting about working with experiencers, is sometimes they are given information that may seem doubtful or uncertain, but it may later turn out to be so, and that's why I've been so much
the truth.
interested in the people to find out if they're right. And
well, I'm going to have to stop you for a second, Leo, because we have to take another short commercial break. See, I got so excited about what we're talking about, I forgot. The producer's going to come here and hit me on the head. Okay, so listen, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. You're listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. Dr. Leo Sprinkle. We will be right back.
Listening to IRN. The Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from the highend.org. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at the highend.org, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighend.org. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighend.org, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighend.org. That's thehighend, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands. With IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Dr. Leo Sprinkle, an expert on UFOs. We're talking all kinds of paranormal encounters here, not just UFOs, and it's fascinating. So here's a couple more questions for you, Leo, from our chat room. This is from Trisha. She says, hello, Leo. Do you feel there's more credibility assigned to people's abduction stories now versus when you started out decades ago?
Oh, yes. Many years ago, there was a lot more criticism, a lot more put-downs. Now there may be doubts, but they're not quite so fierce as before. Now, whether that is due to media and shows like yours, or whether that's a shift in the planetary culture, is hard for me to know. Political scientists would have a better view than I would. But my bias is that people are changing. The new kids on the block, sometimes they're called, let's see, what are some of the names to the kids? Star children. The colors, what's the color?
The blue.
Indigo.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
And others. So my bias is that all over the planet, if you look at the polls, showing that more and more people claim that they accept extraterrestrial civilizations, that they believe that there are extraterrestrials among us, and more people say that our history shows that we are extraterrestrial. We came from other planets, came to this planet. And so how much of it is political, how much of it is historical, how much of it is psychological, I don't know. But I do know that there are more and more young people and more females who are open. Males are a little slower in regard to expressing.
I'm chuckling. I'm going to be good.
We won't make any more comments, but yeah, I think you're right. That is true. Now, here's another interesting question for you, Leo. Daria would like to know, what did your school faculty peers think about your interest in UFOs?
Good question. I wrote a book called Soul Samples, and I described it there in case anybody wants to go over the lousy history. But briefly speaking, some of my colleagues were enthused and they were very supportive. Some of my colleagues were disinterested, and some of the colleagues were angry and rejecting. Just a couple of examples. I went from assistant professor of psychology to associate professor. When I tried to become a full professor of psychology, my application was turned down. One colleague who I didn't know very well, and he didn't know me very well, he tried to help me. He said, Leo, if you'll do this kind of a study and you do that kind of a study, get it published, well, then you can be professor of psychology. And I said, well, I have my own interests. He said, this UFO stuff, is this a hobby? I said, oh, no. I said, I joke about it, but I'm serious. Oh, he said, he looked at me like, you really are serious? You're really going to pursue this? And, of course, that's the reason why it was rejected, because the majority of psychologists then were male in the department, and the majority were experimental and clinical. I was a counseling psychologist, and so they saw my background as weak, and they saw my interests as misleading. Reincarnation, UFOs, what's that got to do with psychology? Well,
a lot.
Yeah.
I have my future story already planned. It goes like this. When the ET presence is announced, I'll walk over to the campus, I'll talk to the spirits of my deceased colleagues, and I'll say, I told you.
That's right.
And they'll say, "We knew it all along, Leo, so Leo won't have the last laugh."
Yeah.
But I'll be standing, so it'll be okay.
That's right. That's right. Well, at this point, I really don't see how anybody can dismiss this unless they just don't want to look at the facts. They just don't want to really read the material and understand that what's going on is real. There's no question about it. The only questions we have is, where is it coming from? Is it a military UFO that has been, in fact, reverse engineered from something that they pulled out of Roswell or the Aztec crash or somewhere else? So is it that, or is it ET, or is it interdimensional? Those are the questions. It's not, is it real or not? It's just, which one is it and where is it coming from?
Good point. And I want to finish my story. Was I got pushed out of the university in '89. The vice president of student affairs. I had been director of counseling and testing for 13 years, and I resigned when the pressure got more. And at one point, I was told in person and in handwriting, no more reincarnation research, no more ET. UFO research during office hours, because although I was a professor, which meant I could study anything I wanted to, I was also a staff psychologist in the counseling center. And so I said, I know how to play the game. I'll just wait till 5 o'clock. For example, a young man was referred to me from a residence hall counselor. He was a cutter. He would take a razor blade and he'd cut his arm or his shoulder and bleed and then feel better. And so I worked with him during office hours, and then we started going back into past lives, so I worked with him at 5 o'clock, so I wasn't violating the rules, and we found out that he had been a champion dueler with a sword. He would cut other people would cut him. And then we found out what was going on. He was so bright and he was so psychic that he could size up a person just looking at them. And so he was very, not only inquisitive and curious, but he was also a little bit of a provocateur. He would say something to somebody, they'd say something back, he'd say something, and pretty soon they were in a quarrel. And then he'd go home and he'd cut himself. And so we found out that what was happening was that he found it more moral to cut himself than to cut somebody else.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
So we said, okay, why don't you use your sharp tongue to cut other people down in arguments, but then you don't have to cut yourself. So it was one more example of how I could help a person by using the techniques that were disallowed. And so when I learned that was, that I was supposed to do an experimental study to find out whether hypnosis exists, and I said, okay, Leo, you're on your way out.
Oh, gosh. What a shame.
That's
it's
okay,
their loss.
Because I did 25 years in private practice and could do more UFO reincarnation research. My wife
there you
and I
go.
would do reincarnation studies, and so even though our money went down, well, our work continued.
That's good. So it's wonderful you were able to reach and help other people. And it's not like, again, you're the only one who's been able to figure out that past lives have an effect on this life. There was also another book written by a psychiatrist, was it Many Lives, Many Masters?
Yes.
Which, again, he found similar findings to yours. And it's this closed-mindedness of this patriarchal system that we have that doesn't allow for exploration this way that can really make a difference in someone's life.
Yes, Dr. Helen Wambach also wrote about past lives, and she did workshops where groups of people would sit. And so not only did she get information from individuals, she got information from groups. And that adds to the power of the data, in my opinion.
Definitely. It definitely does. Now, with the abductee experience, I'll just keep calling it that because that's the word I'm familiar with.
Okay, I call them contactees.
Okay, contactees is better. With the contactee experience, have you ever met any hybrids?
Yes, I have. Remember in South America, I was visited Brazil 4 times between the 50s and the 60s, and one woman there had strange eyes, and she had a double row of teeth.
Oh.
Not only her teeth that you would see when she'd smile, but also as she lifted her lip, there's another row of teeth in the gums that are lifted. And she described her life as a hybrid. Now there are many more. I can't remember what's the name of the book, the author on hybrids.
Paul Jacobs?
Yeah, and also Barbara Lamb and from the British Isles, written a book on hybrids, which is very good, describing their work. So from a lot of different angles, more and more people are accepting not only the ET presence, but the purpose of the ETs to help us grow up to be cosmic citizens instead of merely planetary persons.
So you see the hybrid influx as something positive?
Yes. Yeah.
Because I know Dr. Jacobs sees it as an invasion and has mentioned that on our show.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's more to help us than it is to just take over.
Yeah, he is very good in his books about what he has encountered in the way of people and their experiences, but I disagree with him in regard to, I don't see it as an invasion. Some people see it as an intrusion. Bud Hopkins wrote about intrusion. But it's the same thing about people are talking about immigrants. You know, are immigrants invaders? Are they intruders? Are they miserable people who are trying to find a home? And so many hybrid feel like they're neither fish nor fowl. They're neither ET nor humans, and so they're trying to find a home. And some people feel like their children are not on Earth now. They are in spacecraft waiting to be born into a human body to do their work. So it's a fascinating array of...
It is. And also, with the hybrids, we've heard tell that some of the contactees have been conscripted to help the hybrids learn how to fit in, how to be human, because since some of these hybrids were basically made, or grown on board these ships, they don't have innate knowledge that a mother passes on to a child in a womb. So it's a different type of a birthing experience, and they don't have this innate knowledge. So have you heard about that, where some of these contactees are conscripted to help these hybrids learn how to be human? You have? Okay.
I hope you don't mind a poor joke, but when I was in the Army, I remember standing in Arkansas. We didn't have jackets. We just had our shirts and pants and boots, caps. And we were standing there shivering in the cold wind, and this sergeant up on the stand said, "All right, you people, this is the new Army, and I'm your new mother." And I said to the guy next to me, "Funny, he doesn't look like my mother." And so some people feel like they are new mothers, and some people feel like they are new humans.
And I think it's a hard thing to teach, and some of these contactees are saying they don't want to be involved in this kind of thing, but yet they are being forced into it. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. Once again, I'll compare it to the draftee in the Army. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a temporary thing? Well, in my opinion, it's a temporary move from planetary to cosmic.
Do these hybrids have any special abilities?
Many people say they do. And of course, many ETs seem to have advanced psychic telepathic, psychokinetic abilities. That's one thing that seems to be a sticking point with researchers as to whether it's true or whether it's not true, and is it a good thing or is it not a good thing?
You know, when we were off the air, we were all chatting about a subject of energy. And how the biggest secret you mentioned is not necessarily the ET contactee experience, but it's the free energy experience and how it's being covered up and kept from us. Can you talk to us some about that?
Yeah, I want to mention another book of a guy named Keller, Dr. Cosmic Ray Keller. He's a professor at West Virginia University, and he talks about Tesla coming from Venus, bringing this information. And if you have any knowledge of Nikola Tesla, came over to the U.S. He and Edison were partners for a while. Then they split up. Edison was focusing on the alternating current, AC, and Tesla's working on the DC. The other way around. Direct current, and Edison, and alternating current, Tesla. Tesla developed a coil that could take energy from space and turn it into electricity. He drove an electric car back in the 1800s, but that information has been concealed so that we will continue to use oil and gas and coal. Here in Wyoming, especially at the University of Wyoming, the engineering department has been focusing on that, and the economy of the state is moving up and down. If I had a whole bunch of money, I'd encourage the university and the state to go Tesla, and then we wouldn't have to worry about coal and gas and oil burning fossil fuels. We could create electricity with Tesla equipment.
And how much be wonderful.
And look how much money could be saved.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, we wouldn't be slaves to our electric bills anymore.
The planet could be not only less polluted, it could be more productive. Certainly life could be much more pleasant for everybody. People in Africa or Australia could grow their crops, and they could have a little Tesla coil and create their own electricity. It'd be such a different world.
Oh, would be wonderful. And this is what's being kept from us. And this is what other people have come on the show and said the same thing, that the government or the shadow government or the corporate, whatever they are, have taken this away from us, which is terrible. It's a terrible shame that this has gone on. But I got to ask you, Leo, there's one more thing that I need to ask you about before we end the show. And that is a document that I heard tell you have that shows proof of something that happened in New Jersey in the military installation or outside of a military installation where someone shot an ET, got scared and shot the ET, and the ET did die. But there is an actual witness to this. There was a statement made about this. Can you talk briefly about that? I hate to end the show without mentioning this one because this is a big one.
Well, my memory is slipping, or else I don't recall where I have that.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go back and ask the person who told me. But yes, there was something about this particular incident that there was actual proof. And so if you do recall it, we're going to bring you back to the show to talk about it for sure. So, all right, we're going to leave that one, and we're going to go to another question quickly from the chat room. This is from Carol. And she's figuring out here that you are familiar with the Valiant Thor, Dr. Frank E. Strange situation. Would you care to comment on that? Stranger at the Pentagon was the name of that book.
Yeah. I don't know the truth, but I'm fascinated by the story. If it's so, then this would indicate more information is available at other levels of the Pentagon and the government than we are being told here in public. Just like I find it fascinating to see a photograph by a journalist who claimed that he was taking a photograph of Hillary Clinton and her colleague or her aide or staff or whatever, and a book in her hand, supposedly with a UFO book. So, in my opinion, there's a lot of information that we don't know, but I find myself ambivalent about how much fear or how much excitement I should generate, because I don't think I'm going to be allowed to go into the Pentagon.
No.
And even if I did, I don't know whether my old age would prevent me from seeing what was going on or not. So, so I'm interested in the conspiracy stories, but to me, it's much more interesting to talk with the kids and with the people who've had the encounters, because in my opinion, they're the ones who are going to change the world. The old patriarchy is dying. Men used to think of themselves as protectors of women and children, and now the extreme patriarchs, they think of themselves as possessors of women and children, and that regime is ending. The old male god is dying, and the goddess god of creation is emerging. I think we're going to have a new world, and we'll be connected with many ET civilizations.
Wow.
Just thinking maybe Hillary's got that book because she's planning a fast getaway.
You think
Maybe
they'll let her
so.
go with them? I doubt it. They'll say, you got to go in another direction, honey. But Leo, it's a wonderful vision that you have shared with us tonight of this entire experience of contact. And it's very hopeful and very full of wonder and excitement. And that's a nice place to be with all of this, because there is a lot of speculation, there's a lot of paranoia, there's a lot of secrecy. So it's nice to walk out of that a little bit and see something different. So thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. And if it is true that there are good ETs and bad ETs and good spirits and bad spirits, then, in my opinion, it's so much more fun to pal around with the good guys and the good gals.
Definitely.
And I appreciate being with the Supernatural Girlz radio.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. You're just wonderful. Now, your book, Soul Samples, that's not in print anymore? There's nowhere we can get that?
No, I'm down to my last 2 copies, and I don't know if it'll ever be reprinted or not. Maybe someday, but not right now.
Well, we hope so. Maybe that's worth a conversation or two. What do you think, PK, with some publishers?
Not a doubt. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's great information that people should be able to have in their hot little hands about reincarnation. And certainly you are an expert in both reincarnation and this whole ET contact, interdimensional, celestial experience. It's a lot to take in, but clearly you've got a handle on it, and you've been able to impart your wisdom to all of us tonight. And we can't thank you enough, Leo. It's been thoroughly enjoyable and so informative. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for sharing love and light. Thank you.
Yes. And now, everybody, next week we'll be back with another show. And we've got one of your very favorites, been on before, Jason Quitt. And he's bringing with him the time traveler, John Titor himself. He's going to be with us. So don't miss it. It is going to be a stellar show. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everybody.
Good night.